Hi, my name's Wade Wells. Like Jason said, I am on the Talking About News podcast. I'm also on a couple other things, and I teach CTI 101 here at Antisyphon. So I'm all over the place. I did want to do this talk about augmented detection engineering. It's a little bit more how to actually get detection engineering using AI off the ground rather than using it completely. There's a lot of talks out there on how the different ways to utilize it, but no one really tells you how to set it up. And I also wanted to gear it towards more towards people who only have access to lower end AI products where anything that has like you can upload documents to, so like RAG or you can give a prompt to, nothing in command line or anything like that. So this is usually like the bare level you could do with detection engineering. I do have a quote on here which I was just talking about. It says, "Be wary of shortcuts to knowledge." So this is directly related to this talks and making sure you have enough context. The quote is actually from Kratos from God of War. Luckily, I was playing it yesterday and he actually said that. And I was like, oh, that works perfect for my talk. So I'm going to throw it in. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And here we go. So for first, I want to really dive into what is detection engineering because I'm seeing different definitions and it's going to be different at different organizations, right? So I wanted to put my definition out there. And for me, I see it in three different steps. A lot of times you have like threat intelligence, some type of software and system engineering, and then, of course, security operations. So, to give a little bit of an example, I myself am looking at the news constantly, and I have an intel team that's actually feeding stuff to me. So, I'm doing a little bit of both. And I actually have to know what internally I have because I have to build these detections. So, I also have to know a little bit of threat modeling to know which logs to go to, right? I have to actually write the code or build log parsers or log pipelines in order to get them into SEM. And then I also have to figure out if the security tools are properly configured in order to get like the most out of them and to make sure my detections are valid through them. And lastly, I also have to build detections for it. So it's a little bit all over the place on exactly what detection engineering is. Most managed security providers are going to have people who all they do is write detections, but maybe solo shops with 4 or 5 people, you're going to be wearing a bunch of different hats and you're going to have to make sure the logs are parsed correctly, that they're properly put into the right data models, the timing is set correctly. So it's a lot of work and it's a lot of different aspects and it's kind of hard. Very much like the DevSecOps, if you've ever heard that term, is what detection engineering is to me. So before we get into this talk about AI, I wanted to go over at least a little bit of security considerations because you are going to be pulling important information and pumping it into a third-party platform. So data exposure, right? If you're going to be putting this into any type of AI platform, make sure that the proper controls are in place that others can't read this. If you have all of your detections being able to read by some type of AI platform and a threat actor gets to that, they can easily query the detections and see possibly how to move around your system so they don't get detected. Prompt injection is one way they would do that if they do get to that AI. If they have access to the AI, they may be able to just download the RAG, the files you have uploaded. And the last one is output trust, right? So if you're asking the AI questions, don't always take it to 100%. Like most of the time, AIs to me are always 80%. And then I have to do the work a little bit there. At least when I'm messing with anything in production or anything at an actual organization, I don't never take it as face value. I try to always do a little bit of research or make it provide research for me. Hey, here's some information. Give me back information and provide links to or cite your sources, that type of thing. All three of these are very important. Make sure your AIs are locked down and not just anyone has access to any bots that you make, right? So the next one is augmentation. So for me, augmentation is the acceleration detection engineering task like writing detection logic, mapping coverage gaps, triaging alerts or quality. You're enhancing the person and not necessarily taking over the person. You're trying to free up little things here and there. So to give an example, my out of all the AI stuff I've written, the most useful thing I have written is most likely a bot that will open tickets for me. I don't know how many meetings I'm in where a topic comes up or someone makes a request and I then have to go open a ticket. And usually, like even when you open a ticket in Jira or ServiceNow, there's a bunch of different tasks that go through it. Usually, you're going to have some type of standard in order to follow that expectations. And so, having an actual AI where I just say, "Hey, so and so wants this detection done in this platform," and then it completely spits it out for me, and I say, "Yeah, that's perfect. Open the ticket and assign it to me." That has probably saved me tens tens if not hundreds of hours of work, and also made it look a lot like I can actually write really good tickets. So that's just one way that I've been augmenting myself, right? Brainstorming, ghostwriting, building out guiding you in particular ways, or just having another set of eyes on the detections you're writing can all really push to move you forward. My biggest one is I do not like writing. It's really weird because now as I'm aging into my career, I'm finding that documentation is one of my more fun things, but I actually hate writing. So ghostwriting is helping it with my grammar, helping it with just making stuff sound better has really been a big thing for me. Uh, all of this, you can see some like made up stats I have on here: 42% less tabs, 0% regex learning, and 96% less spelling errors. Is probably like right on point for me and augmenting my stuff. So when we get into this, with that knowledge quote I had at the very beginning, the more context, the better, right? What I've noticed with a lot of the AI is the good teams who have all of this documentation written out already are just getting better. If you have everything written down, say a detection library, right? A centralized location that has all of your detections either mapped to a framework, tagged, and everything like that. It's easy if you already have that, but honestly, getting that actually done is a hard task. Usually, you're going to do it with like detection as code or something. Write a couple of scripts that hit several different platforms, maybe your SIEM, your EDR, your cloud security tool. It's not an easy step, and then making sure that they're all properly parsed into a single format that you can read, like that's what takes a while. Logging inventory, I don't know how many times I've talked to people and asked them, do you have an exact inventory of every single tool you're logging, the prioritization behind it, and who's in charge of it in case it goes down? Sometimes the detection engineering isn't, but usually you're going to have to hit up somebody else if it breaks down one step before that. So this documentation all fuels the context for the AIs you're building. So these mature teams that usually have this can easily pivot to AI and have it help out more. So I highly suggest looking into building out all of this documentation. So like company tooling, exactly what tools your entire organization uses, or at least organizations who you're going to be monitoring more, or right? And how they use it, like which team uses which tool is very important. And then entity information, having possibly who is on your team, different teams, what they do. Usually, if you can have some type of definition of every team, maybe a charter, and have that built in, as well as possibly asset names, like these are the critical assets. If you see anything like this, may either write it in there that this is critical, or mention it in some way, whether depending on which AI you're using it, right? Some other stuff would be network data, like network ranges, domains you're using, and that sort of thing. So I wanted to give clear examples of what I expect when with some of these documentations, because there are things out there for logging inventory, but I really wanted to show you what I really want to do. So this is okay. This is all dummy data. This isn't really from the organization I work with. And I threw it in Notion because one thing, it's really easy to have AI write me dummy data that's in a CSV. So I did this and dumped into the Notion because it also looks pretty. So if you do notice, I have the name, the category, what type it is, the way it's being ingested, the status of it, the log types, what priority it is, right? The review cadence of that, and then what security tool that the final destination is in. All this stuff is really important for when you're having AI help you out with certain log types, or say helping you build a detection. It will know which log type to go to and maybe query it if you're that far, that through that much further. Building this out is not an easy thing. Every the last couple organizations been at, we've had something like this, but it's a grueling task to go in and understand exactly which log source and what it's doing and what's exactly in it. So usually for every single log source, I'm actually writing a full-on description of what's inside of it, what events are in it, maybe a way to use it, and of course some third-party resources to go after and go look at. So if I need to know Windows event IDs, right, I know exactly where to go to get that, and I can easily pivot. And if I can use these notes, AI can then use exactly the same thing to enhance its knowledge and move forward. Some other very important things, like I said, are just priority. If this log source goes down, what is the priority of it that needs to be back up, right? You can usually judge that based on the type of detections that are already written for that, or just the importance that your organization feels that this holds, right? If I need to contact someone at midnight, who's the proper person to contact in order to get these logs running? Because 100 or so of my detections are down because this log source is down. Very important, not just for you, but once again, building more context for your AI. So when you ask it questions, it knows as well. Next one I want to show is the detection library, right? This is actually pretty hard to build in my in my like overall judgment of things. Of course, this is huge. You probably can't read it. This is the one small text that I told Jason I had on here. I have every organization I've been at, I quickly write some scripts to hit every security tool to pull every single detection and then map them to MITRE ATT&CK if they're not already mapped, right? Mapping them already is a hard thing to do. And if you can do this and have a source, it's not just great for the context of the AI, which it is going to be great, but you, when you're building the detection, like there was a question earlier, how do I know if a vendor has a detection if I'm writing custom detections? Well, if you have a detection library, you can go look it up and say, hey, show me every detection for who am I? And just quick Control F, who am I? And then there you go. Here's several detections. The vendor actually has it, right? And then you can actually take that and modify it further. Having this information for the AI can then provide more value, which we'll see. Here's like a quick overall definition that I write for each one of these detections too. So if I am a big on Palantir's alerting detection strategy framework, so I have one of these for every single detection that I have. So then I have more context as well as the AI. So some other lists that I would expect you to see and expect you to possibly get, this is actually being pulled straight from my CTI 101 class. So geolocation data, digital footprints, VIP tracking, industry partners, supply chains, employees, applications, right? All this type of data, if you can make these lists and build out different AI bots surrounding this list to give them context, it's going to help you a lot. A lot of the times, your CTI team is already going to have stuff like this, or there's going to be tools to pull this data for you. So these are all different types of things that I would highly suggest looking into in order to enhancing the bot and building out more context around it. Some other things that I didn't put on here that I think are team charters, which I've talked about, a description for every team and what they do. So if you're building anything out and you ask a question to the AI, it knows what team to talk to. And the other one is IR plans. So if you're building out what we'll see here, we'll see a little bit further. If you're building out any detections, it knows the exact IR plans if that detection were to fire or how to escalate, right? And properly prioritize it. So the first big thing I think that you should do with detection engineering in order to enhance yourself with AI is really pushing how can it help you transfer knowledge from yourself to others, right? I of course have my one bot that is it writes those ADS attack detection, whatever, ADS Palantir framework. I have a AI that writes those for me. I literally will give it a description or give it the actual detection logic, and it writes that whole thing out for me. I look at it, I say, okay, it's around 80 to 90% right. Maybe I want some different sources on it, and I'll add it onto it, mess it around, and bam, there you go. It's great. And one thing that we know, I am very bad at grammar and very bad at spelling. So then I also look better as well. Some other things you can also use it for is we talked about building out the detection library and building out the logging inventory and all those lists. You can have AI help you build those, right? Have it help you across this entire thing. Create a format for all of the documents once you're building something like this and say, hey, here's a format for all the lists. Here are the fields I want. Here's all this raw data. Make this list for me. And then you would regurgitate that and use it elsewhere, right? The other thing to properly give it to build this documentation is examples. So you create one first, then tell it, hey, here's an outline and here's an example. Create something like this in the same format. Works out really well. Detection playbooks are really big, right? So usually for detection playbooks, you're going to need a tool inventory of all the tools you have, and then a IR playbook, right? And logging inventory. So as you're writing these detection playbooks, it knows, okay, we have these type of logs. We know this person, this is how we escalate an IR and what the priority of this probably should be, as well as, hey, here are the other tools. So to give an example, someone gets promoted to root admin of a particular root or admin of a particular tool. What's the first place you're going to go? Is usually service desk. Whatever ticketing system they're using, you're going to go say, hey, did anyone put in a ticket for this to get promoted? If the AI has the proper context to know, as you write out the playbooks, it'll tell you, hey, go check ServiceNow to see if a ticket is open for this particular user, and maybe here's a quick link to go do it. Stuff like that. Some other great things for the detection playbooks, of course, is other detections, examples that you have in there, right? And I usually provided a couple of resources online to go look at as well. Ticket and task creation. We talked about that a little bit earlier, which is one of my favorite bots that I've ever made. Being able to quickly pivot to a task and not have to worry about the proper fields, if everything is correct, if the format is correct, if my spelling is right, and just bam, it's done with a single second, saves me such amount of time. The last one is really big is case summary and for target audience. So we talk about case summaries for SOC analysts all the time. It reads out the case, writes it for you as you close the ticket. But sometimes you want to give a case to somebody else. Maybe a manager, maybe someone who's not in security, leadership, maybe someone that has a more auditing focus. Having different case summary bots that are going to tailor the reports in a different way is a quick pivot and an easy win for you that you don't have to rewrite everything in a different format or with just different context. One of the big things is have an outline for this, have the team charters and a description of each one of their teams so then AI knows what to write. And of course, at least one example. Logging. So I have 4 things here: logging and things that I would expect you to have in order to give the proper context for logging. So a gap analysis, right? If you want a gap analysis bot, you're going to want a logging inventory. You're going to want a tool inventory. A lot of the times that logging inventory is going to compare to that tool inventory. If you have this tool, why don't you have the logs for it, right? The last one is a network diagram. Maybe there's a particular part of the network it realizes you're not getting logs from, or you don't have any proper security tools around. Super important. The other one is ingesting and parsing scripts. So like I've said before, I actually have to write the scripts or have to figure out how to get logs from A to B, whether it be from that tool to my SIEM or that tool to AWS, then to my SIEM or vice versa. Having AI help me write those scripts is of course going to be a fundamental thing that everyone's using it for, as well as writing the documentation for it and commenting on the code. Usually for me, a lot of times I'm coding, I'm writing out the functions and then saying, hey, here are all my functions, put these together. I don't want AI to give me a script that I have no clue what it's going to do because I'm most likely going to have to go either teach someone how to use it or look at it myself. So me writing all the functions that I know how the code works. I just let it put it together and make sure that all the Legos properly connect. Data quality, dumping logs into it to make sure that they're properly parsed, maybe formatting changes, maybe a tool upgrades and breaks everything. Having AI constantly looking at that in some form, some way is another important. And then documentation and normalization and schema creation, right? This is going back to creating that logging inventory and creating that definition of each log, as well as normalizing the logs into a certain format, and then helping you actually, when I say schema creation, like sometimes like, yeah, there's data models out there for whatever tool you're using, but sometimes they don't make sense. And you got to customize them a little bit more. I have found rifting with the AI about what I expect it and what, where certain data sets or certain fields, which fields should go in certain data model fields has been pretty strong and helped me out a lot. Last one, right, is detections. So what can we use detections for? So like Hayden before me has talked about Intel. Detections for Intel is probably one of the bigger things I've seen. I do have Intel analysts who help me out a lot, but having a bot that goes out there and looks at a list of trusted websites, and then if something happens and it maybe picks up on some type of keyword that I have in a list, it'll go and look like, hey, do we have logs for this? And then boom, do we have a detection for this? And then if you don't, it'll actually pump out detection or notify you in some way. I have a bot right now that actually I'll run once a day. It's actually just like it's a GPT that I'll say, hey, go look at all the news sites. Let me know if there's anything based off of my tools and logging that of a detection you think we should write in the next couple weeks, and it will pop out. So I could definitely put that on some type of scheduled task and use Claude Code, but this is a low level thing that I really wanted to do. Detection writing, I have found mixed results with detection writing, but it is healthy to do it. And if you have all the proper detection inventory as well as some samples of detections and the security tool in which you're using, having their documentation, at least a link out to it in order to go pull it and for it to notify. With certain security tools, this is going to be a little bit harder, right? Like Splunk with custom fields, you're going to have to give it some logs to understand. But if you're using data models, you should be good to go if you tell it data models. One thing that I was going to put that Hayden touched on was capitalization, right? Certain algorithms or certain detections will mess around with capitalizations within CLI and not either say lowercase and uppercase. Uh, I've actually had a GPT catch me on that, be like, "Hey, this is capitalized. You should probably like look for both case. This isn't case sensitive, or this is case sensitive. You should be looking for. You should write the detection in a different way because this isn't going to work if they change it." Super fun thing. The other one is tuning recommendation, looking across all your detections, right? Having log samples and a log schema and security tool knowledge. I will pump maybe false positives in there and say, hey, how would you expect me to tune this? Here's what's going on. And that usually helps out a lot too. So I'm going a little quick, but should be good. Building the foundation first. That's the big thing here, right? Having all these documentations written in order to provide the context for the LLMs is super important. Just having an LLM up there and said, hey, write this detection for me without the proper context, it's not going to give you the best thing. It's not going to give you the best, doesn't have the best knowledge and not going to have the best information. The LLM doesn't know your stack. It's useless to you, pretty much. You can make it so much better with a little bit more effort with that'll also not just help the AI itself, but help your team. A lot of the documentation I just talked about is great when a new person is starting. Be like, hey, here's all of our log sources. Here's all of our detections. Just go look at this and you'll be caught up instantly. As well as, hey, here's an AI if you have any questions, because it has all that information too. Document what you have before you automate what you don't, right? Have all this information ready to go. It's usually going to be a lot harder once everything is going and you don't have this documented. Like even with the AIs, making sure you know which AI is what documentations live within it, when the last time they were updated, right? Sometimes you could have some type of change control with a lot of these prompts or RAG, if you're that advanced, but I find that's a little bit more than most people. But at least having it documented on how you made it, what you did, and a quick link to maybe a overall summary for it is great. Uh, so if you're just now thinking about starting to build this, I would highly suggest starting with log inventory. That's usually the bare bones of anything. The detection library and the tool inventory are probably not as important, but still are important. Tool inventory is probably a little bit easier if you're a larger organization that can go around looking at stuff, but there's still going to be shadow IT out there, right? There's still going to be tools you've never heard about. And detection library stuff sometimes is a little bit harder writing that code in order to extract all those detections from several different security tools. To give an example, I think there's a certain EDR out there that would not give me access to their homegrown detections. So theoretically, I couldn't map them and I had to scrape them in a different way. Luckily, ChatGPT helped me out there too, right? And remember, the better context you put in, the better quality you're going to get out. Make sure that stuff is all well written and it's good to go, and you're going to be getting better resources on the way out. All right. So thank you guys very much. That was my talk. If you want to hear more about me, you can watch Talking About News. I'm usually on it every time. I'm also on another podcast called Random But Memorable, which is for 1Password, which is where I work. I teach the Cyber 101 course, and I do have an upcoming webcast that isn't officially announced yet called the Turn Cybersecurity Headlines into Action, which will be talking about biases and how to read the news in order to get the most out of it. And thank you very much.